Gothic fiction. 12 languages. Illustration from a 1794 German edition of The Castle of Otranto, 1764, which is regarded as the first Gothic novel. The aesthetics of the book have shaped modern-day Gothic books, films, art, music and the Goth subculture. 1. Gothic literature redirects here. It may also refer to texts in the extinct Gothic language. 4. Fiction associated with the Goth scene, see Goth subculture books and magazines. Gothic fiction, sometimes called Gothic horror, primarily in the 20th century, is a loose literary aesthetic of fear and haunting. The name refers to Gothic architecture of the European Middle Ages, which was characteristic of the settings of early Gothic novels. The first work to call itself Gothic was Horace Walpole's 1764 novel The Castle of Otranto, later subtitled A Gothic Story. Subsequent 18th-century contributors included Clara Reeve, Anne Radcliffe, William Thomas Beckford, and Matthew Lewis. The Gothic influence continued into the early 19th century. Works by the Romantic poets, like Samuel Taylor Coleridge and Lord Byron, and novelists such as Mary Shelley, Charles Maturin, Walter Scott and E.T.A. Hoffmann frequently drew upon Gothic motifs in their works. The early Victorian period continued the use of Gothic aesthetic in novels by Charles Dickens and the Bronte sisters, as well as works by the American writers Edgar Allan Poe and Nathaniel Hawthorne. Later well-known works were Dracula by Bram Stoker, Richard Marsh's The Beetle and Robert Louis Stevenson's Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. 20th century contributors include Daphne du Maurier, Stephen King, Shirley Jackson, Anne Rice, and Toni Morrison. Characteristics, edit. Gothic fiction is characterized by an environment of fear, the threat of supernatural events, and the intrusion of the past upon the present. 2. 3. The setting typically includes physical reminders of the past, especially through ruined buildings which stand as proof of a previously thriving world which is decaying in the present. 4. Characteristic settings in the 18th and 19th centuries include castles, religious buildings such as monasteries and convents, and crypts. The Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. The ruins of Wolf's Crag Castle. In Walter Scott's The Bride of Lammermoor, 1819. Strawberry Hill, an English villa. In the Gothic Revival style, built by Gothic writer Horace Walpole. The Gothic Temple Folly in the Gardens at Stowe, Buckinghamshire, UK, built as a ruin in 1741, designed by James Gibbs. 7. Atmosphere is typically claustrophobic, and common plot elements include vengeful persecution, imprisonment, and murder. 2. The depiction of horrible events in Gothic fiction often serves as a metaphorical expression of psychological or social conflicts. 3. The form of a Gothic story is usually discontinuous and convoluted, often incorporating tales within tales, changing narrators, and framing devices such as discovered manuscripts or interpolated histories. 5. Other characteristics, regardless of relevance to the main plot, can include sleep-like and death-like states, live burials, doubles, unnatural echoes or silences, the discovery of obscured family ties, unintelligible writings, nocturnal landscapes, remote locations. 6. And dreams. 5. Especially in the late 19th century, Gothic fiction often involved demons and demonic possession, ghosts, and other kinds of evil spirits. 6. Gothic fiction often moves between high culture and low or popular culture. 3. Clarification needed. Role of architecture, edit. Gothic literature is strongly associated with the Gothic revival. Architecture of the same era. English Gothic writers often associated medieval buildings with what they saw as a dark and terrifying period, marked by harsh laws enforced by torture and with mysterious, fantastic, and superstitious rituals. Similar to the Gothic revivalists' rejection of the clarity and rationalism of the neoclassical style of the Enlightened establishment, the literary Gothic embodies an appreciation of the joys of extreme emotion, the thrills of fearfulness and awe inherent in the sublime, and a quest for atmosphere. Gothic ruins invoke multiple linked emotions by representing inevitable decay and the collapse of human creations, hence the urge to add fake ruins as eye-catchers in English landscape parks. Placing a story in a Gothic building serves several purposes. It inspires feelings of awe, implies that the story is set in the past, gives an impression of isolation or dissociation from the rest of the world, and conveys religious associations. Setting the novel in a Gothic castle was meant to imply a story set in the past and shrouded in darkness. The architecture often served as a mirror for the characters and events of the story. 8. The buildings in the Castle of Otranto, for example, are riddled with tunnels that characters use to move back and forth in secret. This movement mirrors the secrets surrounding Manfred's possession of the castle and how it came into his family. 9. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 'Tis now the very witching time of night, when churchyards yawn, and hell itself breathes out. The Female Gothic, edit. From the castles, dungeons, forests, and hidden passages of the Gothic novel genre emerged Female Gothic. Guided by the works of authors such as Anne Radcliffe, Mary Shelley, and Charlotte Bronte, the Female Gothic allowed women's societal and sexual desires to be introduced. In many respects, the novel's intended reader of the time was the woman who, even as she enjoyed such novels, felt she had to lay down her book with affected indifference, or momentary shame. 10. According to Jane Austen, the Gothic novel shaped its form for women readers to turn to Gothic romances to find support for their own mixed feelings. 11. Female Gothic narratives focus on such topics as a persecuted heroine fleeing from a villainous father and searching for an absent mother. At the same time, male writers tend towards the masculine transgression of social taboos. The emergence of the ghost story gave women writers something to write about besides the common marriage plot, allowing them to present a more radical critique of male power, violence, and predatory sexuality. 12. Authors such as Mary Robinson and Charlotte Dacre, however, present a counter to the naive and persecuted heroines usually featured in female Gothic of the time, and instead feature more sexually assertive heroines in their works. 13. When the female Gothic coincides with the explained supernatural, the natural cause of terror is not the supernatural, but female disability and societal horrors, rape, incest, and the threatening control of a male antagonist. Female Gothic novels also address women's discontent with patriarchal society, their difficult and unsatisfying maternal position, and their role within that society. Women's fears of entrapment in the domestic, their bodies, marriage, childbirth, or domestic abuse commonly appear in the genre. After the characteristic Gothic Bildungsroman-like plot sequence, female Gothic allowed readers to grow from adolescence to maturity, 14, in the face of the realized impossibilities of the supernatural. As protagonists such as Adeline in The Romance of the Forest learn that their superstitious fantasies and terrors are replaced by natural cause and reasonable doubt, the reader may grasp the heroine's true position. The heroine possesses the romantic temperament that perceives strangeness where others see none. Her sensibility, therefore, prevents her from knowing that her true plight is her condition, the disability of being female. 14. History, edit. Precursors, edit. The components that would eventually combine into Gothic literature had a rich history by the Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Contagion to this world. Now could I drink hot blood and do such bitter business as the day would quake to look on. Lines from Shakespeare's Hamlet. Time Walpole presented a fictitious medieval manuscript in the castle of Otranto in 1764. The plays of William Shakespeare, in particular, were a crucial reference point for early Gothic writers, in both an effort to bring credibility to their works, and to legitimize the emerging genre as serious literature to the public. 15. Tragedies such as Hamlet, Macbeth, King Lear, Romeo and Juliet, and Richard III, with plots revolving around the supernatural, revenge, murder, ghosts, witchcraft, and omens, written in dramatic pathos, and set in medieval castles, were a huge influence upon early Gothic authors, who frequently quote and make allusions to Shakespeare's works. 16. John Milton's Paradise Lost, 1667, was also very influential among Gothic writers, who were especially drawn to the tragic anti-hero character Satan, who became a model for many charismatic Gothic villains and Byronic heroes. Milton's version of the myth of the fall and redemption, creation and decreation, is, as Frankenstein again reveals, an important model for Gothic plots. 17. Alexander Pope, who had a considerable influence on Walpole, was the first significant poet of the 18th century to write a poem in an authentic Gothic manner. 18. Eloisa to Abelard, 1717, a tale of star-crossed lovers, one doomed to a life of seclusion in a convent, and the other in a monastery. Abounds in gloomy imagery, religious terror, and suppressed passion. The influence of Pope's poem is found throughout 18th century Gothic literature, including the novels of Walpole, Radcliffe, and Lewis. 19. Gothic literature is often described with words such as wonder and terror. 20. This sense of wonder and terror that provides the suspension of disbelief so important to the Gothic, which, except for when it is parodied, even for all its occasional melodrama, is typically played straight, in a self-serious manner, requires the imagination of the reader to be willing to accept the idea that There might be something beyond that which is immediately in front of us. The mysterious. Imagination necessary for Gothic literature to have gained any traction had been growing for some time before the advent of the Gothic. The need for this came as the known world was becoming more explored, reducing the geographical mysteries of the world. The edges of the map were filling in, and no dragons were to be found. The human mind required a replacement. 21. Clive Bloom. The realized that this void in the collective imagination was critical in developing the cultural possibility for the rise of the Gothic tradition. 22. The setting of most early Gothic works was medieval, but this was a common theme long before Walpole. In Britain especially, there was a desire to reclaim a shared past. This obsession frequently led to extravagant architectural displays, such as Fonthill Abbey, and sometimes mock tournaments were held. It was not merely in literature that a medieval revival made itself felt, and this, too, contributed to a culture ready to accept a perceived medieval work in 1764. 21. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. The Gothic often uses scenery of decay, death, and morbidity to achieve its effects, especially in the Italian horror school of Gothic. However, Gothic literature was not the origin of this tradition, it was far older. The corpses, skeletons, and churchyards so commonly associated with early Gothic works were popularized by the graveyard poets. They were also present in novels such as Daniel Defoe's A Journal of the Plague Year, which contains comical scenes of plague carts and piles of corpses. Even earlier, poets like Edmund Spenser evoked a dreary and sorrowful mood in such poems as Epithalamion. 21. All aspects of pre-Gothic literature occur to some degree in the Gothic, but even taken together, they still fall short of true Gothic. 21. What needed to be added was an aesthetic to tie the elements together. Bloom notes that this aesthetic must take the form of a theoretical or philosophical core, which is necessary to save the best tales from becoming mere anecdote or incoherent sensationalism. 23. In this case, the aesthetic needed to be emotional, and was finally provided by Edmund Burke's 1757 work, A Philosophical Enquiry into the Origin of Our Ideas of the Sublime and Beautiful, which finally codified the Gothic emotional experience. 24. Specifically, Burke's thoughts on the sublime, terror, and obscurity were most applicable. These sections can be summarized thus: the sublime is that which is or produces the strongest emotion which the mind is capable of feeling. Terror most often evoked the sublime, and to cause terror, we need some amount of obscurity. We can't know everything about that which is inducing terror, or else a great deal of the apprehension vanishes. Obscurity is necessary to experience the terror of the unknown. 21. Bloom asserts that Burke's descriptive vocabulary was essential to the Romantic works that eventually informed the Gothic. The birth of Gothic literature was thought to have been influenced by political upheaval. Researchers linked its birth with the English Civil War, culminating in a Jacobite rebellion, 1745. More recent to the first Gothic novel, 1764. The collective political memory and any deep cultural fears associated with it likely contributed to early Gothic villains as literary representatives of defeated Tory barons or royalists rising from their political graves in the pages of early Gothic novels to terrorize the bourgeois reader of late 18th century England. 25, 26, 27, 28. 18th century Gothic novels, edit. Main article, 18th century Gothic novel. The first work to call itself Gothic was Horace Walpole's The Castle of Otranto, 1764. 2. The first edition presented the story as a translation of a 16th century manuscript and was widely popular. Walpole, in the second edition, revealed himself as the author, which adding the subtitle A Gothic Story. The revelation prompted a backlash from readers, who considered it inappropriate for a modern author to write a supernatural story in a rational age. 29. Walpole did not initially prompt many imitators. Beginning with Clara Reeves, the Old English Baron, 1778, the 1780s saw more explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Anne Radcliffe's The Mysteries of Udolpho, 1794, a best-selling novel that was critical in setting off the Gothic craze of the 1790s. Minerva Press notice from October 1795 listing new publications, including many Gothic titles. Writers attempting his combination of supernatural plots with emotionally realistic characters. Examples include Sophia Lee's The Recess, 1783-5, and William Beckford's Vavok, 1786. 30. At the height of the Gothic novels' popularity in the 1790s, the genre was almost synonymous with Anne Radcliffe, whose works were highly anticipated and widely imitated. The Romance of the Forest, 1791, and The Mysteries of Udolpho, 1794, were particularly popular. 30. In an essay on Radcliffe, Walter Scott writes of the popularity of Udolpho at the time. The very name was fascinating, and the public, who rushed upon it with all the eagerness of curiosity, rose from it with unsated appetite. When a family was numerous, the volumes flew, and were sometimes torn from hand to hand. 31. Radcliffe's novels were often seen as the feminine and rational opposite of a more violently horrifying male Gothic associated with Matthew Lewis. Radcliffe's final novel, The Italian, 1797, responded to Lewis's The Monk, 1796. 3. Radcliffe and Lewis have been called the two most significant Gothic novelists of the 1790s. 32. The popularity and influence of the Mysteries of Udolpho and the Monk saw the rise of shorter and cheaper versions of Gothic literature in the forms of Gothic blue books and chapbooks, which in many cases were plagiarized and abridgments of well-known Gothic novels. 33. The Monk in particular, with its immoral and sensational content, saw many plagiarized copies, and was notably drawn from in the cheaper pamphlets. 34. Other notable Gothic novels of the 1790s include William Godwin's Caleb Williams, 1794, Regina Maria Roche's Clermont, 1798, and Charles Brockden Brown's Wieland, 1798, as well as large numbers of anonymous works published by the Minerva Press. 30. In continental Europe, Romantic literary movements led to related Gothic genres such as the German Schauerroman and the French Roman Neu. 35. 36. 18th century Gothic novels were typically set in a distant past and, for English novels, a distant European country, but without specific dates or historical figures that characterized the later development of historical fiction. 37. The saturation of Gothic-inspired literature during the 1790s was referred to in a letter by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, writing on the 16th of March, 1797, "Indeed I am almost weary of the terrible, having been a hireling in the Critical Review for the last 6 or 8 months I have been reviewing the Monk. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF." Catherine Morland, the naive protagonist of Northanger Abbey. 1818, Jane Austen's Gothic parody. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, or the Italian, Hubert de Severac and C, in all of which dungeons, and old castles, and solitary houses by the seaside and caverns and woods and extraordinary characters and all the tribe of horror and mystery, have crowded on me even to surfeiting. 38. The excesses, stereotypes, and frequent absurdities of the Gothic genre made it rich territory for satire. 39. Historian Richter Norton notes that satire of Gothic literature was common from 1796 until the 1820s, including early satirical works such as The New Monk, 1798, More Ghosts, 1798, and Rosella, or Modern Occurrences, 1799. Gothic novels themselves, according to Norton, also possess elements of self-satire, by having profane comic characters as well as sacred serious characters. The Gothic novelist could puncture the balloon of the supernatural while at the same time affirming the power of the imagination. 40. After 1800 there was a period in which Gothic parodies outnumbered forthcoming Gothic novels. 41. In The Heroine by Eaton Stannard Barrett. 1813, Gothic tropes are exaggerated for comic effect. 42. In Jane Austen's novel Northanger Abbey, 1818, the naive protagonist, a female named Catherine, conceives herself as a heroine of a Radcliffean romance and imagines murder and villainy on every side. However, the truth turns out to be much more prosaic. This novel is also noted for including a list of early Gothic works known as the Northanger Horrid Novels. 43. Second Generation or Junge Romantic, edit. The poetry, romantic adventures, and character of Lord Byron, characterized by his spurned lover, Lady Caroline Lammer's Mad, Bad and Dangerous to Know, were another inspiration for the Gothic novel, providing the archetype of the Byronic hero. For example, Byron is the title character in Lady Caroline's Gothic novel Glenavon, 1816. Byron was also the host of the celebrated ghost story competition, involving himself, Percy Bysshe Shelley, Mary Shelley, and John William Polidori at the Villa Diodati on the banks of Lake Geneva in the summer of 1816. This occasion was productive of both Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, 1818, and Polydorus the Vampire, 1819, featuring the Byronic Lord Ruthven. The Vampire has been accounted by cultural critic Christopher Frayling as one of the most influential works of fiction ever written and spawned a craze for vampire fiction and theatre, and, latterly, film, that has not ceased to this day. 44. Although clearly influenced by the Gothic tradition, Mary. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Modern Prometheus, 1818, has come to define Gothic fiction in the Romantic period. Frontispiece to 1831. Edition shown. Shelley's novel is often considered the first science fiction novel. Despite the novel's lack of any scientific explanation for the monsters, animation and the focus instead on the moral dilemmas and consequences of such a creation. John Keats' La Belle Dame Sang Messie, 1819, and Isabella, or The Pot of Basil, 1820, feature mysteriously fey ladies. 45. In the latter poem, the names of the characters, the dream visions, and the macabre physical details are influenced by the novels of premier Gothicist Anne Radcliffe. 45. Although ushering in the historical novel, and turning popularity away from Gothic fiction, Walter Scott frequently employed Gothic elements in his novels and poetry. 46. Scott drew upon oral folklore, fireside tales, and ancient superstitions, often juxtaposing rationality and the supernatural. Novels such as The Bride of Lammermoor, 1819, in which the characters' fates are decided by superstition and prophecy, or the poem Marmion, 1808, in which a nun is walled alive inside a convent, illustrate Scott's influence and use of Gothic themes. 47, 48. A late example of a traditional Gothic novel is Melmoth the Wanderer, 1820, by Charles Maturin, which combines themes of anti-Catholicism with an outcast Byronic hero. 49. Jane C. Loudon's The Mummy, 1827, features standard Gothic motifs, characters, and plot, but with one significant twist. It is set in the 22nd century and speculates on fantastic scientific developments that might have occurred 300 years in the future, making it and Frankenstein among the earliest examples of the science fiction genre developing from Gothic traditions. 50. During 2 decades, the most famous author of Gothic literature in Germany was the polymath E.T.A. Hoffmann. Lewis's The Monk influenced and even mentioned it in his novel The Devil's Elixirs, 1815. The novel explores the motive of doppelganger, a term coined by another German author and supporter of Hoffmann, Jean-Paul, in his humorous novel Siebenkäs, 1796–1797. He also wrote an opera based on Friedrich de la Motte-Falque's Gothic story Undine, 1816, for which de la Motte-Falque wrote the libretto. 51. Aside from Hoffmann and de la Motte-Falque, 3 other important authors from the era were Joseph Freiherr von Eichendorff, The Marble Statue, 1818. Ludwig Achim von Arnim, Die Majoratscharen, 1819, and Adelbert von Chamisso, Peter Schlemils. Wundersame Geschichte, 1814. 52. After them, Wilhelm Meinhold wrote The Amber Witch, 1838. And Sidonia von Bork, 1847. In Spain, the priest Pascual Pérez Rodriguez was the most diligent novelist in the Gothic way. closely aligned to the supernatural explained by Anne Radcliffe. 53. At the same time, the poet José de Espronceda published The Student of Salamanca, 1837-1840, a narrative poem that presents a horrid variation on the Don Juan legend. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Vi, Lord of the Underworld, from the story of the same name by Gogol. In Russia, authors of the Romantic era include Antony Pogorelsky, Penem of Aleksey Alekhevich Perovsky, Orest Somov, Oleksa Storojenko, 54, Alexander Pushkin, Nikolai Alexeyevich Polevoy, Mikhail Lermontov, for his work Stas, and Alexander Bistachv. Marlinsky. 55. Pushkin is particularly important, as his 1833 short story, The Queen of Spades, was so popular that it was adapted into operas and later films by Russian and foreign artists. Some parts of Mikhail Yurevich Lermontov's A Hero of Our Time, 1840, are also considered to belong to the Gothic genre, but they lack the supernatural elements of other Russian Gothic stories. The following poems are also now considered to belong to the Gothic genre: Meshkivsky's Lila, Katenin's Olga, Pushkin's The Bridegroom, Pletnev's The Gravedigger and Lermontov's Demon. 1829-1839. 56. The key author of the transition from Romanticism to Realism, Nikolai Vasilievich Gogol, who was also one of the most important authors of Romanticism, produced a number of works that qualify as Gothic fiction. Each of his 3 short story collections features a number of stories that fall within the Gothic genre or contain Gothic elements. They include St. John's Eve and A Terrible Vengeance from Evenings on a Farm near Dikanka, 1831-1832, The Portrait from Arabesques, 1835, and Vai from Migorod, 1835. While all are well known, the latter is probably the most famous, having inspired at least 8 film adaptations, 2 now considered lost, 1 animated film, 2 documentaries, and a video game. Gogol's work differs from Western European Gothic fiction, as his cultural influences drew on Ukrainian folklore, the Cossack lifestyle, and, as a religious man, Orthodox Christianity. 57, 58. Other relevant authors of this era include Vladimir Fyodorovich Odovsky, The Living Corpse, written 1838, published 1844, The Ghost, The Sylphide, as well as short stories, Count Alexei Konstantinovich Tolstoy, The Family of the Vodolak, 1839, and The Vampire, 1841, Mikhail Zagoskin, Unexpected Guests, Joseph Sikowski / Osip Senkovsky, Anta, and Yevgeny Baratinsky. The Ring. 55. 19th century Gothic fiction, edit. See also, Penny Dreadful and American Gothic fiction. By the Victorian era, Gothic had ceased to be the dominant genre for novels in England, partly replaced by more sedate historical fiction. However, Gothic short stories continued to be popular. Published in magazines or as small chapbooks called penny dreadfuls. 2. The most influential Gothic writer from this period was the American Edgar Allan Poe, who wrote numerous short stories and poems reinterpreting Gothic tropes. His story The Fall of the House of Usher, 1839, revisits. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Cover of Avani the Vampire publication, 1845. Jane Eyre's Trial. Through the Moors in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, 1847. Classic Gothic tropes of aristocratic decay, death, and madness. 59. Poe is now considered the master of the American Gothic. 2. In England, one of the most influential penny dreadfuls is the anonymously authored Vani the Vampire, 1847, which introduced the trope of vampires having sharpened teeth. 60. Another notable English author of penny dreadfuls is George W. M. Reynolds, known for The Mysteries of London, 1844, Faust, 1846, Wagner the Weir Wolf, 1847, and The Necromancer, 1857. 61. Elizabeth Gaskell's Tales. The Doom of the Griffiths, 1858, Lois the Witch, and the Grey Women all employ one of the most common themes of Gothic fiction. The power of ancestral sins to curse future generations, or the fear that they will. M.R. James, an English medievalist whose stories are still popular today, is known as the originator of the antiquarian ghost story. In Spain, Gustavo Adolfo Bécquer stood out with his romantic poems and short tales, some depicting supernatural events. Today some consider him the most read Spanish writer after Miguel de Cervantes. 62. In addition to these short Gothic fictions, some novels drew on the Gothic. Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, 1847, transports the Gothic to the forbidding Yorkshire moors and features ghostly apparitions and a Byronic hero in the person of the demonic Heathcliff. The Brontes' fictions were cited by feminist critic Ellen Moas as prime examples of female Gothic, exploring women's entrapment within domestic space and subjection to patriarchal authority and the transgressive and dangerous attempts to subvert and escape such restriction. 63. Emily Bronte's Cathy and Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre are examples of female protagonists in such roles. 64. Louisa May Alcott's Gothic Potboiler, a long fatal love chase, written in 1866 but published in 1995, is also an interesting specimen of this subgenre. Charlotte Bronte's Villette also shows the Gothic influence, with its supernatural subplot featuring a ghostly nun, and its view of Roman Catholicism as exotic and heathenistic. 65. 66. Nathaniel Hawthorne's novel The House of the Seven Gables, about a family's ancestral home, is colored with suggestions of the supernatural and witchcraft, and in true Gothic fashion, it features the house itself as one of the main characters. The genre also heavily influenced writers such as Charles Dickens, who read Gothic novels as a teenager and incorporated their gloomy atmosphere and melodrama into his works, shifting them to a more modern period and an urban setting. For example, in Oliver Twist, 1837-1838, Bleak House, 1854, and Great Expectations, 1860-1861. These works juxtapose wealthy, ordered, and affluent. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Miss Havisham from Dickens' Great Expectations. Robert Louis Stevenson's Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, 1886, was a classic Gothic civilization with the disorder and barbarity of the poor in the same metropolis. Bleak House, in particular, is credited with introducing urban fog to the novel, which would become a frequent characteristic of urban Gothic literature and film. Myher 2007. Miss Havisham from Great Expectations is one of Dickens' most Gothic characters. The bitter recluse who shuts herself away in her gloomy mansion ever since being jilted at the altar on her wedding day. 67. His most explicitly Gothic work is his last novel, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which he did not live to complete and was published unfinished upon his death in 1870. The mood and themes of the Gothic novel held a particular fascination for the Victorians, with their obsession with mourning, rituals, mementos, and mortality in general. Irish Catholics also wrote Gothic fiction in the 19th century. Although some Anglo-Irish dominated and defined the subgenre decades later, they did not own it. Irish Catholic Gothic writers included Gerald Griffin, James Clarence Mangan, and John and Michael Banim. William Carleton was a notable Gothic writer, and converted from Catholicism to Anglicanism. 68. In Switzerland, Jeremiah Scott Thelf wrote The Black Spider, 1842, an allegorical work that uses Gothic themes. The last work from the German writer Theodor Storm, The Rider on the White Horse, 1888, also uses Gothic motifs and themes. 69. After Gogol, Russian literature saw the rise of realism, but many authors continued to write stories within Gothic fiction territory. Ivan Sajovic Turgenev, one of the most celebrated realists, wrote Faust, 1856, Phantoms, 1864, Song of the Triumphant Love, 1881, and Clara Milik, 1883. Another classic Russian realist, Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky, incorporated Gothic elements into many of his works, although none can be seen as purely Gothic. 70. Grigory Petrovich Danilevsky, who wrote historical and early science fiction novels and stories, wrote Mrtva Kubiritsa, Dead Murderer, in 1879. Also, Grigory Alexandrovich Matet wrote Zakliaty Kazakh, which may now also be considered Gothic. 71. The 1880s saw the revival of the Gothic as a powerful literary form allied to Findersicle, which fictionalized contemporary fears like ethical degeneration and questioned the social structures of the time. Classic works of this urban Gothic include Robert Louis Stevenson's Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, 1886, Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1891, George du Maurier's Trilby, 1894, Richard Marsh's The Beetle, 1897, Henry James' The Turn of the Screw, 1898, and The Stories of Arthur Machen. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Work of the 1880s, seeing many stage adaptations. La Haula, 1887, by Guy de Maupassant. In Ireland, Gothic fiction tended to be pervaded by the Anglo-Irish Protestant ascendancy. According to literary critic Terry Eagleton, Charles Maturin, Sheridan Le Fanu, and Bram Stoker form the core of the Irish Gothic subgenre, with stories featuring castles set in a barren landscape and a caste of remote aristocrats dominating an atavistic peasantry, which represent an allegorical form the political plight of Catholic Ireland subjected to the Protestant ascendancy. 72. Le Fanu's Use of the gloomy villain, forbidding mansion, and persecuted heroine in Uncle Silas, 1864, shows direct influence from Walpole's Otranto and Radcliffe's Udolpho. Le Fanu's short story collection in A Glass Darkly, 1872, includes the superlative vampire tale Carmilla, which provided fresh blood for that particular strand of the Gothic and influenced Bram Stoker's vampire novel Dracula, 1897. Stoker's book created the most famous Gothic villain ever, Count Dracula, and established Transylvania and Eastern Europe as the locus classicus of the Gothic. 73, published in the same year as Dracula, Florence Marryat's The Blood of the Vampire is another piece of vampire fiction. The Blood of the Vampire, which, like Carmilla, features a female vampire, is notable for its treatment of vampirism as both racial and medicalized. The vampire, Harriet Brandt, is also a psychic vampire, killing unintentionally. 74. In the United States, notable late 19th century writers in the Gothic tradition were Ambrose Bierce, Robert W. Chambers, and Edith Wharton. Bierce's short stories were in the horrific and pessimistic tradition of Poe. Chambers indulged in the decadent style of Wilde and Machen, even including a character named Wilde in his The King in Yellow, 1895. 75. Wharton published some notable Gothic ghost stories. Some works of the Canadian writer Gilbert Parker also fall into the genre, including the stories In the Lane That Had No Turning, 1900. 76. The serialized novel The Phantom of the Opera, 1909-1910, by the French writer Gaston Leroux is another well-known example of Gothic fiction from the early 20th century, when many German authors were writing works influenced by Skauroman, including Hans Heinz. Yours. 77. Russian Gothic, edit. Until the 1990s, Russian Gothic critics did not view Russian Gothic as a genre or label. If used, the word Gothic was used to describe mostly early works of Fyodor Dostoevsky from the 1880s. Most critics used tags such as romanticism and fantastic, such as in the 1984 story collection translated into English as Russian 19th century Gothic tales but originally titled literally, The Fantastic World of Russian Romanticism short story / novella. 78. However, since the mid-1980s, Russian Gothic fiction as a genre began to be discussed in books such as the Gothic Fantastic in 19th century Russian literature. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Mrs. Danvers in the 1940 film adaptation of Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. The success of Rebecca inspired a revival of interest in Gothic romance in the 20th century. 85. European Gothic, A Spirited Exchange 1760 1960, the Russian Gothic novel and its British antecedents and Goticheskii Roman v Rossii, the Gothic novel in Russia. The first Russian author whose work has been described as Gothic fiction is considered to be Nikolai Mikhailovich Karamzin. While many of his works feature Gothic elements, the first to belong purely under the Gothic fiction label is Ostrow Bornholm, Island of Bornholm, from 1793. 79, nearly 10 years later, Nikolai Ivanovich Nedik followed suit with his 1803 novel Don Corrado de Gerrera, set in Spain during the reign of Philip II. 80. The term Gothic is sometimes also used to describe the ballads of Russian authors such as Vasily Andreevich-Zhukovsky, particularly Ludmila, 1808, and Svetlana, 1813, both translations based on Gottfried August Berger's Gothic German ballad, Lenore. 81. During the last years of Imperial Russia in the early 20th century, many authors continued to write in the Gothic fiction genre. They include the historian and historical fiction writer Alexander Valentinovich Amphiteatrov and Leonid Nikolaevich Andreev, who developed psychological characterization, the symbolist Valery Yakovlevich Bryasov, Alexander Grin, Anton Pavlovich Chekhov, 82, and Alexander Ivanovich Kuprin. 71. Nobel Prize winner Ivan Alexeyevich Bunin wrote Dry Valley, 1912, which is seen as influenced by Gothic literature. 83. In a monograph on the subject, Muiri Ann Maguire writes, the centrality of the Gothic fantastic to Russian fiction is almost impossible to exaggerate, and certainly exceptional in the context of world literature. 84. 20th Century Gothic Fiction, edit. See also, Pulp magazine. Gothic fiction and modernism influenced each other. This is often evident in detective fiction, horror fiction, and science fiction, but the influence of the Gothic can also be seen in the high literary modernism of the 20th century. Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1890, initiated a reworking of older literary forms and myths that became common in the work of W. B. Yeats, T.S. Eliot, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, Shirley Jackson, and Angela Carter, among others. 86. In Joyce's Ulysses, 1922, the living are transformed into ghosts, which points to an island in stasis at the time and a history of cyclical trauma from the Great Famine in the 1840s through to the current moment in the text. 87. The way Ulysses uses Gothic tropes such as ghosts and hauntings while removing the supernatural elements of 19th century Gothic fiction indicates a general form of modernist Gothic writing in the first half of the 20th century. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Pulp magazines such as Weird Tales reprinted and popularized Gothic horror from the previous century. In America, pulp magazines such as Weird Tales reprinted classic Gothic horror tales from the previous century by authors like Poe, Arthur Conan Doyle, and Edward Bulwer-Lytton, and printed new stories by modern authors featuring both traditional and new horrors. 88. The most significant of these was H.P. Lovecraft, who also wrote a conspectus of the Gothic and supernatural horror tradition in his Supernatural Horror in Literature, 1936, and developed a mythos that would influence Gothic and contemporary horror well into the 21st century. Lovecraft's protege, Robert Bloch, contributed to Weird Tales and penned Psycho, 1959, which drew on the classic interests of the genre. From these, the Gothic genre per se gave way to modern horror fiction, regarded by some literary critics as a branch of the Gothic. 89, although others use the term to cover the entire genre. The Romantic strand of Gothic was taken up in Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, 1938, which is seen by some to have been influenced by Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. 90. Other books by Du Maurier, such as Jamaica in 1936, also display Gothic tendencies. Du Maurier's work inspired a substantial body of female Gothics concerning heroines alternately swooning over or terrified by scowling Byronic men in possession of acres of prime real estate and the appertaining droit du seigneur. Southern Gothic, edit. Main article, Southern Gothic. The genre also influenced American writing, creating a Southern Gothic genre that combines some Gothic sensibilities, such as the grotesque, with the setting and style of the southern United States. Examples include Erskine Caldwell, William Faulkner, Carson McCullers, John Kennedy Toole, Manly Wade Wellman, Eudora Welty, V.C. Andrews, Tennessee Williams, Truman Capote, Flannery O'Connor, Davis Grubb, Anne Rice, Harper Lee, and Cormac McCarthy. 91. New Gothic Romances, edit. Mass-produced Gothic romances became popular in the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s with authors such as Phyllis A. Whitney, Joan Aiken, Dorothy Eden, Victoria Holt, Barbara Michaels, Mary Stewart, Alison White, and Jill Tattersall. Many featured covers show a terror-stricken woman in diaphanous attire in front of a gloomy castle, often with a single lit window. Many were published under the paperback Library Gothic imprint and marketed to female readers. While the authors were mostly women, some men wrote Gothic romances under female pseudonyms. The prolific Explore Our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Clarissa Ross and Marilyn Ross were pseudonyms of the male Dan Ross. Frank Belknap Long published Gothics under his wife's name, Lyda Belknap Long. The British writer Peter O'Donnell wrote under the pseudonym Madeleine Brent. After the Gothic romance boom faded away in the early 1990s, very few publishers embraced the term for mass-market romance paperbacks apart from imprints like Love Spell, which was discontinued in 2010. 92, however, in recent years the term Gothic romance is being used to describe both old and new works of Gothic fiction. 93. Contemporary Gothic, edit. For modern horror associated with the goth scene, see goth subculture books and magazines. Gothic fiction continues to be extensively practiced by contemporary authors. Many modern writers of horror or other types of fiction exhibit considerable Gothic sensibilities. Examples include Anne Rice, Susan Hill, Billy Martin, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Carmen Maria Machado, Neil Gaiman, and Stephen King. 94, 95. Thomas M. Disher's novel The Priest, 1994, was subtitled A Gothic Romance and partly modeled on Matthew Lewis the Monk. 96, 97, 98. Many writers such as Billy Martin, Stephen King, Bret Easton Ellis, and Clive Barker have focused on the body's surface and blood's visuality. 99. England's Rhiannon Ward is among the recent writers of Gothic fiction. Catriona Ward won a British Fantasy Award for Best Horror Novel for her Gothic novel Raw Blood in 2016. Contemporary American writers in the tradition include Joyce Carol Oates with such novels as Bellflow and a Blood Smear Romance, Toni Morrison with her radical novel Beloved, about a slave woman whose murdered baby haunts her, Raymond Kennedy with his novel Lulu Incognito, 100, Donna Tartt with her postmodern Gothic horror novel The Secret History, 101, Ursula Vernon with her Edgar Allan Poe-inspired novel What Moves the Dead, Danielle Trussini with her Gothic extravaganza The Ancestor, 102, and filmmaker Annabella with Bluebeard's Castle, a throwback to 18th century Gothic novels and 1960s dime store romances. 103, British writers who have continued in the Gothic tradition include Sarah Waters with her haunted house novel The Little Stranger, 104, Diane Setterfield with her quintessentially Gothic novels The 13th Tale, 105, and Once Upon a River, Helen Oimi with her experimental novel White is for Witching, 106, Sarah Perry with her novels Melmoth and the Essex Serpent, 107, and Laura Purcell with her historical novels The Silent Companions and The Shape of Darkness. 108. Several Gothic traditions have also developed in New Zealand, with the subgenre referred to as New Zealand Gothic or Maori Gothic, 109, and Australia, known as Australian Gothic. These explore everything from the multicultural natures of the two countries, 110, to their natural geography. 111. Novels in the Australian Gothic tradition include Kate Grenville's The Secret River and the works of Kim Scott. 112. An even smaller genre is Tasmanian Gothic, set exclusively on the island, with prominent examples including Gould's Book of Fish by Richard Flanagan and the Explore Our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Roving Party by Rohan Wilson. 113, 114, 115, 116. Another Australian author, Kate Morton, has penned several homages to classic Gothic fiction, among them The Distant Hours and The House at Riverton. 117. Southern Ontario Gothic applies a similar sensibility to a Canadian cultural context. Robertson, Davies, Alice Munro, Barbara Gowdy, Timothy Findlay, and Margaret Atwood have all produced notable exemplars of this form. Another writer in the tradition was Henry Farrell, best known for his 1960 Hollywood horror novel Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Farrell's novels spawned a subgenre of grande dame guignol in the cinema, represented by such films as the 1962 film based on Farrell's novel, which starred Bette Davis versus Joan Crawford. This subgenre of films was dubbed the psychobiddy genre. Outside the English-speaking world, Latin American Gothic literature has been gaining momentum since the first decades of the 21st century. Some of the main authors whose style has been described as Gothic are Maria Fernanda Ampuro, Mariana Enriquez, Fernanda Melchor, Monica Ojeda, Giovanna Rivero, Michelle Roche Rodriguez, and Samantha Schweblin. The many Gothic subgenres include a new environmental Gothic or Eco-Gothic. 118, 119, 120, it is an ecologically aware Gothic engaged in dark nature and ecophobia. 121. Writers and critics of the Eco-Gothic suggest that the Gothic genre is uniquely positioned to speak to anxieties about climate change and the planet's ecological future. 122. Among the best-selling books of the 21st century, the YA novel Twilight by Stephen E. Meyer is now increasingly identified as a Gothic novel, as is Carlos Ruiz Zafón's 2001 novel The Shadow of the Wind. 123. Other media, edit. Literary Gothic themes have been translated into other media. There was a notable revival in 20th century Gothic horror cinema, such as the classic Universal Monsters films of the 1930s, Hammer horror films, and Roger Corman's Poe cycle. 124. In Hindi cinema, the Gothic tradition was combined with aspects of Indian culture, particularly reincarnation, for an Indian Gothic genre, beginning with Mahal, 1949, and Madhumati, 1958. 125. The 1960s Gothic television series Dark Shadows borrowed liberally from Gothic traditions, with elements like haunted mansions, vampires, witches, doomed romances, werewolves, obsession, and madness. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. The early 1970s saw a Gothic romance comic book mini-trend with such titles as DC Comics' The Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love and The Sinister House of Secret Love, Charlton Comics' Haunted Love, Curtis Magazine's Gothic Tales of Love, and Atlas/Seaboard Comics One Shot Magazine Gothic Romances. 20th century rock music also had its Gothic side. Black Sabbath's 1970 debut album created a dark sound different from other bands at the time and has been called the first ever goth rock record. 126. However, the first recorded use of Gothic to describe a style of music was for The Doors. Critic John Stickney used the term Gothic rock to describe the music of The Doors in October 1967 in a review published in the Williams Record. 127. The album recognized as initiating the goth music genre is Unknown Pleasures by the band Joy Division. However, earlier bands such as the Velvet Underground also contributed to the genre's distinctive style. Themes from Gothic writers such as H.P. Lovecraft were used among Gothic rock and heavy metal bands, especially in black metal, thrash metal, Metallica's The Call of Cthulhu, death metal, and Gothic metal. For example, in his compositions, heavy metal musician King Diamond delights in telling stories full of horror, theatricality, Satanism, and anti-Catholicism. 128. In role-playing games, RPG, the pioneering 1983 Dungeons & Dragons adventure Ravenloft instructs the players to defeat the vampire Strahd von Zarovich, who pines for his dead lover. It has been acclaimed as one of the best role-playing adventures ever and even inspired an entire fictional world of the same name. The World of Darkness is a Gothic punk RPG line set in the real world, with the added element of supernatural creatures such as werewolves and vampires. In addition to its flagship title Vampire: The Masquerade, the game line features a number of spin-off RPGs such as Werewolf, The Apocalypse, Midge, The Ascension, Wraith, The Oblivion, Hunter, The Reckoning, and Changeling, The Dreaming, allowing for a wide range of characters in the Gothic punk setting. My Life with Master uses Gothic horror conventions as a metaphor for abusive relationships, placing the players in the shoes of minions of a tyrannical, larger-than-life master. 129. Various video games feature Gothic horror themes and plots. The Castlevania series typically involves a hero of the Belmont lineage exploring a dark, old castle, fighting vampires, werewolves, Frankenstein's creature, and other Gothic monster staples, culminating in a battle against Dracula himself. Others, such as Ghosts and Goblins, feature a camper parody of Gothic fiction. 2017's Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, a Southern Gothic reboot to the survival horror video game, involves an everyman and his wife trapped in a derelict plantation and mansion owned by a family with sinister and hideous secrets, and must face terrifying visions of a ghostly mutant in the shape of a little girl. This was followed by 2021's Resident Evil Village, a Gothic horror sequel focusing on an action hero searching for his kidnapped daughter in a mysterious Eastern European village under the control of a bizarre religious cult inhabited by werewolves, vampires, ghosts, shapeshifters, and other monsters. The Devil May Cry series stands as an equally parodic and self-serious franchise. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Following the escapades, stunts and mishaps of series protagonist Dante as he explores dingy, demonic castles, ancient occult monuments and ruined urban landscapes on his quest to avenge his mother and brother. Gothic literary themes appear all throughout the story, such as how the past physically creeps into the ambiguously modern setting, recurrent imagery of doubles, notably regarding Dante and his twin brother, and the persisting melodramas associated with Dante's father's fame, absence, and demonic heritage. Beginning with Devil May Cry 3, Dante's Awakening. Female Gothic elements enter the series as Deuteragonist Lady works through her own revenge plot against her murderous father, with the oppressive and consistent emotional and physical abuse instigated by a patriarchal figure serving as a heavy, understated counterweight to the extravagance of the rest of the story. Finally, Bloodborne takes place in the decaying Gothic city of Yehanam, where the player must face werewolves, shambling mutants, vampires, witches, and numerous other Gothic staple creatures. However, the game takes a marked turn midway, shifting from Gothic to Lovecraftian horror. Popular tabletop card game Magic: The Gathering, known for its parallel universe consisting of planes, features the plane known as Innistrad. Its general aesthetic is based on Northeast European Gothic horror. Innistrad's common residents include cultists, ghosts, vampires, werewolves, and zombies. Modern Gothic horror films include Sleepy Hollow, 130, Interview with the Vampire, 131, Underworld, 132, The Wolfman, 133, From Hell, 134, Dorian Gray, 135, Let the Right One In, 136, The Woman in Black, 137, Crimson Peak, 138, The Little Stranger, 139, and The Love Witch, 140. The TV series Penny Dreadful, 2014-2016, brings many classic Gothic characters together in a psychological thriller set in the dark corners of Victorian London. The Oscar-winning Korean film Parasite has also been called Gothic, specifically, revolutionary Gothic. 141. Recently, the Netflix original The Haunting of Hill House and its successor The Haunting of Bly Manor have integrated classic Gothic conventions into modern psychological horror. 142. Scholarship, edit. Educators in literary, cultural, and architectural studies appreciate the Gothic as an area that facilitates investigation of the beginnings of scientific certainty. As Carol Senf has stated, the Gothic was a counterbalance produced by writers and thinkers who felt limited by such a confident worldview and recognized that the power of the past, the irrational, and the violent continue to sway in the world. 143. As such, the Gothic helps students better understand their doubts about the self-assurance of today's scientists. Scotland is the location of what was probably. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. The world's first postgraduate program to consider the genre exclusively, the MLit in the Gothic imagination at the University of Stirling, first recruited in 1996. 144. See also, edit. Aestheticism. American Gothic fiction. Decadent movement. Dark fantasy. 18th century Gothic novel. French Revolution and the English Gothic novel. Gaslamp fantasy. Gothic film. Gothic romance film. Gothic western. Irish Gothic literature. Latin American Gothic. List of Gothic fiction works. List of Minerva Press authors. Minerva Press. Southern Gothic. Southern Ontario Gothic. Suburban Gothic. Symbolism, arts. Tasmanian Gothic. Urban Gothic. Weird fiction. Goth music. Goth subculture. Notes, edit. 1. The Castle of Otranto, the creepy tale that launched Gothic fiction. BBC News. 13 December. 2014 retrieved 9 July 2017. 2. ABCDE Birch, Dinah, ed. 2009. Gothic fiction. The Oxford Companion to English Literature. 7th ed. Oxford University Press. ISBN 9780191735066. 3. ABCD Hoggle, Gerald E., ed. 29th August 2002. Introduction. The Cambridge Companion to Gothic Fiction. Cambridge Companions to Literature, 1 ed. Cambridge University Press. pp. 120. Do. 10.1017/col 0521791243. ISBN 978-0-521-79124-3. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 4. DeVore, David. The Gothic Novel. Archived from the original on 13 March 2011. The setting is greatly influential in Gothic novels. It not only evokes the atmosphere of horror and dread, but also portrays the deterioration of its world. The decaying, ruined scenery implies that at one time there was a thriving world. At one time the abbey, castle, or landscape was something treasured and appreciated. Now, all that lasts is the decaying shell of a once thriving dwelling. 5. A.B. Kosofsky Sedgwick, Eve, 1980. The Coherence of Gothic Conventions, PDF. Methuen. Retrieved 25 July 2022. 6. A.B. Davies, David Stewart, Foreshore, Barry, eds. 2015. The Sherlock Holmes Book, First. American ed. New York, DK. pp. 99-100. ISBN 978-1-4054-3849-2. 7. Luckhurst, Roger, 2021. Gothic and Illustrated History. Thames and Hudson. p. 25. ISBN 978-0-500. 25251-2. 8 by Birnbaum, L. 1982. The Gothic Imagination, Expansion in Gothic Literature and Art. Rutherford, Fairleigh Dickinson University Press. 9 Walpole, H. 1764, 1968. The Castle of Otranto. Reprinted in 3 Gothic novels. London, Penguin Press. 10 Austen's Northanger Abbey, 2nd edition, Broadview, 2002. 11 Ronald, Anne, Terror Gothic, Nightmare and Dream in Anne Radcliffe and Charlotte Brontë, in Julian E. Fleener, ed., The Female Gothic, Montreal, Eden Press Incorporated, 1983, pp. 176186. 12 Smith, Andrew, and Diana Wallace, The Female Gothic, Then and Now. Gothic Studies, the 25th of August. 2004, pp. 17. 13 Hurst, Sam, the 14th of May, 2021. The Real Life Heroines of the Early Gothic. Reactor. Retrieved. The 22nd of June, 2024. 14 A.B. Nichols, Nina the Vinci, Place and Eros in Radcliffe, Lewis and Brontë, in Julian E. Fleener, ed. The Female Gothic, An Introduction, Montreal, Eden Press Incorporated, 1983, pp. 187206. 15 L. Wiley, Jennifer, 2015. Shakespeare's Influence on the English Gothic, 1791 1834, The Conflicts of Ideologies, PDF, PhD dissertation. University of Arizona. HDL, 10150/594386. Retrieved 4 May. 2022. 16 Hewitt, Natalia. 2013. Something Old and Dark Has Got Its Way, Shakespeare's Influence in the Gothic Literary Tradition, PhD dissertation. Claremont Graduate University. Do. 10.5642/get/77. Retrieved 29 April, 2022. 17 Percival, Robert, 2013. From the Sublime to the Numinous, a study of Gothic qualities in the poetry and drama of Shelley's Italian period, PDF, MA thesis. University of Canterbury. Do. 10.26021/4865. HDL, 10092/11870. Retrieved 29 April, 2022. 18 Sararian, Vari, 1970. The Way to Otranto, Gothic Elements in 18th Century English. Poetry, PhD dissertation. Bowling Green State University. Retrieved 4 May, 2022. 19 Virginia Stoops, Marion, 1973. Gothic Elements in Pope's Eloisa to Abelard, MA thesis. Ohio State University. Retrieved 4 May, 2022. 20 Terror and Wonder, The Gothic Imagination. The British Library. British Library. Retrieved 26 March. 2016. 21 ABCDE Early and Pre-Gothic Literary Conventions and Examples. Spooky Scary Skeletons Literary and Horror Society. Spooky Scary Society. The 31st of October, 2015. Retrieved the 26th of March, 2016. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 22 Carat Bloom, Clive, 2010. Gothic Histories, The Taste for Terror, 1764 to present. London, Continuum. International Publishing Group. P2. 23 Carat Bloom, Clive, 2010. Gothic Histories, The Taste for Terror, 1764 to present. London, Continuum. International Publishing Group. P8. 24 Carat Early and Pre-Gothic Literary Conventions and Examples. Spooky Scary Skeletons Literary and Horror Society. Spooky Scary Society. The 31st of October, 2016. Retrieved the 26th of March, 2016. 25 Carat Radcliffe, Anne, 1995. The Castles of Aethlin and Dunbayne. Oxford, Oxford Up. pp. 7 Xiv. ISBN 0192823574. 26 Carat Alexandre Garner, Corinne, 2004. Borderlands and Borderlands Confluences Xiv. Paris, University of Paris X Nanterre. pp. 205216. ISBN 2907335278. 27 Carat Kearney, Christopher, 1995. The Villain Character in the Puritan World, Ph.D. dissertation. Columbia, University of Missouri. ProQuest 21521799598. Retrieved the 20th of November, 2017. 28 Carat Kearney, Chris, 2018. Intertextuality and intratextuality, does Mary Shelley sit heavily behind? Conrad's Heart of Darkness. PDF. Culture in Focus. 192. Archived from the original, PDF. On the 23rd of July, 2018. Retrieved the 30th of April, 2018. 29 Carat CLA, E.J. 1995. The Rise of Supernatural Fiction, 1762–1800. Cambridge, Cambridge. University Press. ISBN 978-0-511-51899-7. OCLC 7769468868. 30 Carat ABC Suka, Slobodan, 6 May 2007. Gothic Fiction. The Literary Encyclopedia. ISSN 1747-678-X. 31 Carat Scott, Walter, 1825. Lives of the Novelists. Carey and Lee. p. 195. 32 Carat Miles, Robert, 2000. A Companion to the Gothic. p. 49. ISBN 978-0-63123-199-8. 33 Carat Thomas, Susan. Gothic Blue Books, The Popular Thirst for Fear and Dread. University of Melbourne. 34 Carat J. Potter, Franz J. 2021. Gothic Chapbooks, Blue Books and Shilling Shockers, 1797–1830. University of Wales Press. ISBN 978-1-78683-670-0. 35 Hale, Terry, 2002, Hoggle, Gerald E. ed. French and German Gothic, The Beginnings, The Cambridge Companion to Gothic Fiction, Cambridge Companions to Literature, Cambridge, Cambridge. University Press, pp. 6384, ISBN 978-0-521-79124-3, retrieved 2 September 2020. 36 Seeger, Andrew Philip, 2004. Crosscurrents between the English Gothic novel and the German. Schauerroman, Ph.D. dissertation. University of Nebraska-Lincoln. pp. 1208. ProQuest 305161832. 37 Richter, David H. The 28th of July, 2016. The Gothic Novel and the Lingering Appeal of Romance. In Downey, James Allen, ed. The Oxford Handbook of the 18th Century Novel. Oxford University Press. pp. 471488. Do. 10.1000978019966747.013.021. ISBN 978-0-19-956674-7. 38 Norton, Richter, 2000. Gothic Readings, 1764 1840. Retrieved the 11th of May, 2022. 39 Skada 1986. 40 Norton, Richter, 2000. Gothic Readings, 1764 1840, Gothic Parody. 41 Potter, Franz J. 2005. The History of Gothic Publishing, 1800-1835, Exhuming the Trade. Hown Mills, Basingstoke, Hampshire, Palgrave Macmillan. ISBN 1-4039-9582-6. OCLC 58807207. 42 Horner, Avril, 2005. Gothic and the Comic Turn. Hown Mills, Basingstoke, Hampshire, Palgrave Macmillan. p. 27. ISBN 978-0-230-50307-6. OCLC 3124777942. 43 Wright, 2007, pp. 2932. 44 Frayling, Christopher, 1992, 1978. Vampires, Lord Byron to Count Dracula. London, Faber. ISBN 978-0-571-16792-0. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 45 AB Skada and Jaff, 1981, pp. 33-35 and 132133. 46 Frey, Walter, 1902. The Influence of Gothic Literature on Sir Walter Scott. Retrieved 4 May. 2022. 47 Rose Miller, Emma, 2019. Fact, Fiction or Fantasy, Scott's Historical Project and the Bride of Lammermoor, PDF. Archived, PDF, from the original on 21 May 2022. Retrieved 1 May 2022. 48-carat Joe Walker, Grady, 1957. Scott's refinement of the Gothic in certain of the Waverley novels. PDF. Archived, PDF, from the original on 21 May 2022. Retrieved 4 May 2022. 49-carat Varma 1986. 50-carat Lisa Hopkins, Jane C. Loudon's The Mummy, Mary Shelley meets George Orwell, and they go in a balloon to Egypt, in Cardiff Corvey, reading the romantic text, 10 June 2003. Compare ac.uk, 25 January 2006. Retrieved on 18 September 2018. 51-carat Hoggle, P105122. 52-carat Cusack, Barry, P91, pp. 118123. 53-carat Aldana, Xavier, pp. 1017. 54-carat Krys Svetlana, Folklorism in Ukrainian Gotho Romantic Prose, Olexa Storojenko's Tale About Devil in Love, 1861. Folklorica, Journal of the Slavic and East European Folklore Association, 16. 2011, pp. 117138. 55-carat A.B. Horner, 2002. Neil Cornwell, European Gothic and the 19th Century Gothic Literature, pp. 5982. 56-carat Cornwell, 1999. Michael Pursglove, Does Russian Gothic Verse Exist? pp. 83102. 57-carat Simpson, cp 21. 58-carat Cornwell, 1999. Neil Cornwell, pp. 189234. 59-carat, Skada and Jaff, 1981, pp 181182. 60-carat Did Vampires Not Have Fangs in Movies Until the 1950s? Huffington Post. Retrieved 27 September 2017. 61-carat Baddeley, 2002, pp. 143144. 62-carat Booker S. Ellis Escrita Mars Lido Después de Servants. La Provincia. Diario de las Palmas, in Spanish. 28 July 2011. Retrieved 22 February 2018. 63-carat Moas, Ellen, 1976. Literary Women. Doubleday. ISBN 9780385074278. 64-carat Jackson, 1981, pp. 123129. 65-carat Johnson, EDH. 1966. Daring the Dread Glance, Charlotte Bronte's treatment of the supernatural in Villette. 19th century fiction. 20, 43253362, 10.2307/2932664. JSTA 2932664. 66-carat Clark, Misai LM. 2011. Charlotte Bronte's Villette, Mid-Victorian Anti-Catholicism, and the Turn to Secularism. ELH. 78, 49679892, 10.1353/L.2011.0030. ISSN 0013-8304. JSTA 41337561. S2 SID 139705585. 67 The Gothic in Great Expectations. British Library. Archived from the original on 31 July 2023. Retrieved 16 August 2021. 68 Killeen, Jarlath, 31 January 2014. The Emergence of Irish Gothic Fiction. Edinburgh University Press. p. 51. Do. 10.3000/Edinburgh/9780748690000.001.0001. ISBN 978-0-7486-9080-0. S2 SID 1927702214. 69 Cusack, Barry, p. 26. 70 Cornwell, 1999. pp. 211256. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 71 A.B. Butcherzuff. 72 Eagleton, 1995. 73 Myher, 2003. 74 Heathel Thomas, Ardell, 2012. Queer Others in Victorian Gothic, Transgressing Monstrosity. 1 ed. University of Wales Press. ISBN 978-0-7083-2464-6. JSTJ.CTT9QHDW4. 75 Punter, David, 1980. Later American Gothic. The Literature of Terror, A History of Gothic Fictions. From 1765 to the present day. United Kingdom, Longmans. pp. 268-290. ISBN 9780582489219. 76 Rubio, Jen, 2015. Introduction to the Lane That Had No Turning, and Other Tales Concerning the People of Pontiac. Oakville, on, Rocks Mills Press. pp. 7-8. ISBN 978-0-9881293-7-5. 77 Cusack, Barry, p. 23. 78 Cornwell, 1999. Introduction. 79 Cornwell, 1999. Derek Offord, Karamzin's Gothic Tale, pp. 37-58. 80 Cornwell, 1999. Alessandra Tosi, At the Origins of the Russian Gothic Novel, pp. 59-82. 81 Cornwell, 1999. Michael Pursglove, Does Russian Gothic Verse Exist? pp. 83-102. 82 Cornwell, 1999. p. 257. 83 Peterson, p. 36. 84 Muiri Ann Maguire, Stalin's Ghosts, Gothic Themes in Early Soviet Literature, Peter Lang Publishing. 2012, ISBN 3-0343-0787-X, p. 14. 85 Clark Green, Barbara, 2012. More Classic Riffs. Patch Media. 86 Hansen, Jim, 2011. A Nightmare on the Brain, Gothic Suspicion and Literary Modernism. Literature. Compass. 8, 9635644 do. 10.1011/1113.2013.2010.00763.x 87 Verts, James F. 2005. Scarce More a Corpse, Famine Memory and Representations of the Gothic. In Ulysses. Journal of Modern Literature. 29, 102117. Do. 10.2009/jml.2005.29.1.102. S2 SID 1613688941. ProQuest 2016712006. 88 Goulet, 1986. 89 Whisker, 2005, pp 232-33. 90 Yodley, Jonathan, the 16th of March, 2004. Du Maurier's Rebecca, a worthy heir apparent. The Washington Post. 91 Skada and Jaff, 1981, pp. 418456. 92 Open Library on Internet Archive. 93 What is Gothic Romance? 13 books that will enchant your inner Gothic fan. Book Riot. 94 Skada and Jaff, 1981, pp. 464465 and 478. 95 Davenport Hines, 1998, pp. 357358. 96 Linda Parent Lesher, The Best Novels of the 90s, A Reader's Guide. McFarland, 2000 ISBN 0. 7864-0742-5, p. 267. 97 This haunting new bestseller is part Du Maurier, part Del Toro. Slate. 98 Carmen Maria Machado has invented a new genre, the Gothic memoir. Electric Literature. 99 Stefana, Aspasia, Reading Vampire Gothic Through Blood, Palgrave, 2014. 100 The American Gothic Digital Collections for the Classroom. Retrieved 3 May, 2023. 101 The Gothic Terror of Donatarte's The Secret History. Horror Obsessive. 102 The Ancestor, Passion Trip's Reason in This Gothic Extravaganza. Kirkus. 103 Annabella on How the Gothic Gives Voice to Women's Pleasure and Pain. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 104 A Review of The Little Stranger, the novel. 105 The 13th Tale, Gothic storytelling at its best. 106 Gothic ambiguity, Hellenoi I'm is white is for witching. Blackgate. 107 The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry Review, a compulsive novel of ideas. The Guardian. 108 Book Review, The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell. The Bibliosanctum. 109 Kafka, Misha, the 16th of October, 2014. The Gothic and the Everyday, Living Gothic. Springer. pp. 225240. ISBN 978-1-137-40664-4. 110 Hello Darkness, New Zealand Gothic. robertleonard.org. Retrieved 26 July, 2020. 111 Wide Open Fear, Australian Horror and Gothic Fiction. This is Horror. The 10th of January, 2013. Retrieved. The 26th of July, 2020. 112 Doolan, Emma. Australian Gothic, From Hanging Rock to Nick Cave and Kylie, this genre explores our dark side. The Conversation. Retrieved the 26th of July, 2020. 113 Sussex, Lucy, the 27th of June, 2019. Rohan Wilson's audacious experiment with climate change fiction. The Sydney Morning Herald. The result is a book that, while with one foot in Tasmanian Gothic, does represent a personal innovation. 114 Holgate, Ben, 2014. The Impossibility of Knowing, Developing Magical Realism's Irony in Gould's Book of Fish. Journal of the Association for the Study of Australian Literature, J. Sal. 14, 1. ISSN 1833-6027. On one level, the book is a picaresque romp through colonial Tasmania in the early 1800s based on the not very reliable reminiscences of Gould, a convicted forger, painter of fish, and inveterate raconteur. On another level, the novel is a Gothic horror tale in its reimagining of a violent, brutal and oppressive penal colony whose militaristic regime subjugated both the imported and original inhabitants. 115 Britain, Naomi, Trilogy, Mandela, Bird, Carmel, 2010. Reimagining the Gothic in Contemporary Australia, Carmel Bird discusses her Mandela trilogy. Antipodes. 24, 198-103. ISSN 0893. 5580. JSTOR 4195780 via JSTOR. Richard Flanagan, Gould's Book of Fish, would have to be Gothic. Tasmanian history is profoundly dark and dreadful. 116 Durkin, Jamie, 2017. Richard Flanagan's and Alexis Wright's Magic Nihilism. Antipodes. 31. 2276-292, 10.13110/Antipodes.31.2.0276. ISSN 0893-5580. JSTOR 10.13110/Antipodes.31.2.0276. Flanagan in Gould's Book of Fish and Wanting also seeks to interrogate assumed complacency through a strangely comic and dark re-rendering of reality to draw out many truths, such as Tasmania's treatment of its indigenous peoples. 117 The Distant Hours. 118 Says, Max, the 23rd of November, 2014. The Eco-Gothic. 119 Hillard, Tom. Deep into that darkness peering, an essay on Gothic nature. Interdisciplinary Studies in Literature and Environment, 16, 4, 2009. 120 Smith, Andrew and William Hughes. Introduction, Defining the Eco-Gothic in Eco-Gothic. Andrew Smith and William Hughes, eds. Manchester University Press. 2013. 121 Simon Estock, The Rising in a Space of Ambivalent Openness, Eco-Criticism and Ecophobia. Literature and Environment, 16, 2, 2009, Simon Estock, The Ecophobia Hypothesis, Routledge, 2018. 122 See Eco-Gothic in William Hughes, Key Concepts in the Gothic. Edinburgh University Press, 2018. 63. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 123. Edwards, Justin, Munit, Agnieszka, the 15th of February, 2013. The Gothic in Contemporary Literature and Popular Culture, Pop Goth. Taylor and Francis. ISBN 9781136337888. 124. Davenport Hines, 1998, pp 355-8. 125. Mishra, Vijay, 2002. Bollywood Cinema, Temples of Desire. Routledge. pp. 49-57. ISBN 0-415-93014. 6. 126. Baddeley, 2002, p. 264. 127. Stickney, John, the 24th of October, 1967. Four Doors to the Future, Gothic Rock is Their Thing. The Williams Record. Archived from the original on 4 May, 2013. Retrieved 11 March, 2013. 128. Baddeley, 2002, p. 265. 129. Darlington, Steve, the 8th of September, 2003. Review of My Life with Master. RPNet. Retrieved 9th of July, 2019. 130. Sleepy Hollow, a modern-day Gothic classic. Film Obsessive. 131. Interview with the Vampire 1994 reviewed. Horror Movies reviewed. 132. Looking back on the Gothic action horror of the Underworld franchise. Bloody Disgusting. 133. Does Sheath Charms to Soothe the Savage Breast. RogerEbert.com. 134. From Hell, 2001 Albert and Alan Hughes conventional Gothic thriller, starring Johnny Depp. Emmanuel Levi. 135. Review, Dorian Gray. The Film Stage. 136. Let the Right One In. The Guardian. 137. A haunted house with its own sound effects. RogerEbert.com. 138. A fascinating conundrum of a movie, Gothic, horror and Crimson Peak. Revenant Journal. 139. The Little Stranger. RogerEbert.com. 140. Enamored with the Love Witch. Generally Gothic. 141. Southard, Connor, the 20th of November, 2019. Parasite and the Rise of Revolutionary Gothic. Theatline.com. Retrieved 2 March, 2020. 142. Romaine, Lindsay, the 5th of October, 2020. The Haunting of Bly Manor is a Beautiful Gothic Romance. Nerdist. Retrieved 29th of December, 2020. 143. Carol Senf, Why We Need the Gothic in a Technological World in Humanistic Perspectives in a Technological World, ed. Richard Utz, Valerie B. Johnson, and Travis Denton, Atlanta, School of Literature, Media, and Communication, Georgia Institute of Technology, 2014, pp. 31-32. 144. Hughes, William, 2012. Historical Dictionary of Gothic Literature. Scarecrow Press. References, edit. Aldanares, Xavier, 2017. Spanish Gothic, National Identity, Collaboration and Cultural Adaptation. Palgrave Macmillan. ISBN 978-1137306005. Baddeley, Gavin, 2002. Gothic. London, Plexus. ISBN 978-0-85965-382-4. Baldick, Chris, 1993, Introduction, in the Oxford Book of Gothic Tales, Oxford, Oxford University Press. Burkhead, Edith, 1921, The Tale of Terror. Bloom, Clive, 2007, Gothic Horror, A Guide for Students and Readers, Basingstoke, Palgrave Macmillan. Botting, Fred, 1996, Gothic, London, Routledge. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Brown, Marshall, 2005, The Gothic Text, Stanford, CA, Stanford UP. Buchazov, A.E. 2008, Russkaya Goticheskaya Povest 19 Veka. Chance, Linda, 2010, Shakespeare and the Gothic Strain, Volume 38, pp. 185. CLA, E.J. 1995, The Rise of Supernatural Fiction, Cambridge, Cambridge University Press. Cornwell, Neil, 1999, The Gothic Fantastic in 19th-Century Russian Literature, Amsterdam, Atlanta. G.A. Rodopi, Studies in Slavic Literature and Poetics, Volume 33. Cook, Judith, 1980, Women in Shakespeare, London, Harrop and Company. Limited. Cusico, Barry M. 2012, Popular Revenants, The German Gothic and its International Reception. 1800-2000, Camden House. Davenport Hines, Richard, 1998, Gothic, 400 Years of Excess, Horror, Evil and Ruin, London, 4th Estate. Davison, Carol Margaret, 2009, Gothic Literature 1764 1824, Cardiff, University of Wales Press. Drake Akes, John and Dale Townshend, 2008, Gothic Shakespeares, New York, Routledge. Eagleton, Terry, 1995, Heathcliff and the Great Hunger, New York, Verso. Fuchs, Barbara, 2004, Romance, London, Routledge. Gamer, Michael, 2006, Romanticism and the Gothic. Genre, Reception and Canon Formation, Cambridge. Cambridge University Press. Gibbons, Luke, 2004, Gaelic Gothic, Galway, Ullin House. Gilbert, Sandra and Susan Gubar, 1979, The Madwoman in the Attic. ISBN 0-300-08458-7. Goulet, Ron, 1986, The Pulps in Jack Sullivan and Pedro Chamo, ed., The Penguin Encyclopedia of Horror and the Supernatural, 337-40. Grigorescu, George, 2007, Long Journey Inside the Flesh, Bucharest, Romania. ISBN 978-0-8059-8468-2. Hadji, Robert, 1986, Jean Ray in Jack Sullivan, ed., The Penguin Encyclopedia of Horror and the Supernatural. Haggerty, George, 2006, Queer Gothic, Urbana, IL, Illinois up. Halberstam, Jack, 1995, Skin Shows, Durham, NC, Duke up. Hoggle, J. 2002, The Cambridge Companion to Gothic Fiction, Cambridge University Press. Horner, Avril and Susa Oznick, 2005, Gothic and the Comic Turn, Basingstoke, Palgrave Macmillan. Horner, Avril, 2002, European Gothic, A Spirited Exchange 1760 1960, Manchester and New York. Manchester University Press. Hughes, William, Historical Dictionary of Gothic Literature, Scarecrow Press, 2012. Jackson, Rosemary, 1981, Fantasy, The Literature of Subversion. Kilgore, Maggie, 1995, The Rise of the Gothic Novel, London, Routledge. Georgian Klein, 1975, Der Gotische Roman und die Ästhetik des Bösen, Darmstadt, Wissenschaftlich. Butch J. Zelskraft. Georgian Klein, Gunda Cutler, 2011, Mathematik des Begehrens, Hamburg, Schobachs Hausverlag. Korovan, Valentin I. 1988, Fantastische i Miruskoi Romantischeskoi Povesti. Medina, Antoinette, 2007, A Vampire's Vedas. Myher, Robert, 2003, A Geography of Victorian Gothic Fiction, Mapping History's Nightmares, Oxford. Oxford University Press. Myher, Robert, 2007, Gothic Cities, in C. Spooner and Imkavoy, eds, The Routledge Companion to Gothic, London, Routledge, pp. 5472. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. O'Connell, Lisa, 2010, The Theopolitical Origins of the English Marriage Plot, Novel, A Forum on Fiction. Volume 43, Issue 1, pp. 31-37. Peterson, Dale, 1987, The Slavic and East European Journal, Volume 31, Number 1, Spring, 1987, pp. 36-49. Punter, David, 1996, The Literature of Terror, London, Longman, 2 volumes. Punter, David, 2004, The Gothic, London, Huyler Blackwell. Sabor, Peter and Paul Yochnin, 2008, Shakespeare and the 18th Century, Ashgate Publishing Limited. Salter, David, 2009, This Demon in the Garb of a Monk, Shakespeare, The Gothic and the Discourse of Anti-Catholicism, Volume 5, Issue 1, pp. 52-67. Sedgwick, Eve Kosofsky, 1986, The Coherence of Gothic Conventions, N.Y., Methuen. Shakespeare, William, 1997, The Riverside Shakespeare, 2nd edition, Boston, N.Y., Houghton Mifflin Company. Simpson, Mark S. 1986, The Russian Gothic Novel and Its British Antecedents, Slavica Publishers. Skada, Patricia L., and Jaff, Norma Crow, 1981, Evil Image, 2 Centuries of Gothic Short Fiction and Poetry. New York, Meridian. Skada, Patricia, 1986, Gothic Parodies in Jack Sullivan ed. 1986, The Penguin Encyclopedia of Horror and the Supernatural, 178-9. Skada, Patricia, 1986 B. Oates, Joyce Carol in Jack Sullivan ed. 1986, The Penguin Encyclopedia of Horror and the Supernatural, 303-4. Stevens, David, 2000, The Gothic Tradition, ISBN 0-521-77732-1. Sullivan, Jack, ed. 1986, The Penguin Encyclopedia of Horror and the Supernatural. Summers, Montague, 1938, The Gothic Quest. Townshend, Dale, 2007, The Orders of Gothic. Varma, Devendra, 1957, The Gothic Flame. Varma, Devendra, 1986, Maturin, Charles Robert in Jack Sullivan, ed., The Penguin Encyclopedia of Horror and the Supernatural, 285286. Whisker, Gina, 2005, Horror Fiction, An Introduction, Continuum, New York. Wright, Angela, 2007, Gothic Fiction, Basingstoke, Palgrave. External links, edit. Works related to Gothic fiction at Wikisource. Gothic fiction at the British Library archived 25 May 2018 at the Wayback Machine. Key motifs in Gothic fiction archived 1 July 2017 at the Wayback Machine, a British Library film. Gothic fiction bookshelf at Project Gutenberg. Irish Journal of Gothic and Horror Studies. Gothic author biographies. The Gothic Imagination archived 18 December 2017 at the Wayback Machine. Gothic, in Our Time, BBC Radio 4 discussion with Chris Baldick, A.N. Wilson and Emma. CLA, 4 January 2001. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Categories: Gothic Fiction 1760s, Neologisms, Science Fiction Genres, Horror Genres, Literary Genres. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF.